viewers. Today we are here on behalf of the UK Asian Film Festival to interview a budding director from India, Utpal Kalal, whose film, rather documentary, The 14th February and Beyond, which is on looking in different aspects of the Valentine's Day and in India, was selected to be screened during the 2020 UK Asian Film Festival. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the festival didn't do any screenings this year. So we are having a special screening later in which has been held, and via the UK Asian Film Festival UKAFF's platform, and we are here to interview the director Utpal, and find out his journey in becoming a filmmaker, and also in terms of how he came up with the idea of making this documentary. So welcome, Utpal, to the interview and the UKAFF forum today. I, of course, haven't mentioned myself. I am the Alina Mirza and Associate Director for the UK Asian Film Festival. Utpal, why don't we start with you sharing with us your journey of becoming a filmmaker? Because as I understand, you were studying medicine, and that's when your creativity, developed, and you started to look into the aspect of arts and filmmaking. So, without further ado, please share with us your journey.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for having me here for the Q&A session. Thank you so much, and big thanks to UK Asian Film Festival, where our film The 14th February and Beyond got selected for its 2020 edition. And unfortunately, the pandemic happened, and in-person theatrical screening could not happen, event could not happen actually. But I'm really glad that we are doing this online session of it. And yes, so the journey, actually, me starting out as a filmmaker, and being from a medicine field actually. So it started actually when I started doing medicine. It was like 2010-11 when I got into medicine. So before that, actually, I always had a thing for art and everything, and but I was not exposed to cinema in that way at that moment when I was in school actually. So after that, what happened, I did my medicine. I started medicine, and I went to abroad in Russia. I finished my medicine there actually. So what happened there, with my studies, with my medicine career, actually I was exposed to international cinema. Before I watched the films that I never, saw, the kind of films, the international work in different languages and everything. And it was completely a whole new world for me, completely a new world for me. And when I saw those stories, making an impact on me, and after watching the films, just staying with the narrative, just thinking about them, it has a certain impact on me. And at that moment as well, I could not define actually what is happening, why I'm drawn that much to these stories and how they are created. Because earlier, before my medicine career and going to abroad, I was just used to watching Bollywood films, and yes, I watched some good films there, but still, I did not have that thing, that that magic, I would say the word. I could not feel the magic of cinema until my medicine career. And I went there, I watched films, and I had a good internet there actually. And at that moment in 2010, I would say, in India, we did not have a this sort of access to internet. At that moment, we were like barely use YouTube actually, because the internet was very slow, and we could not even use YouTube, due to the slow internet. So, but when I went outside India, and I actually started watching films on internet, obviously, with along with my studies and everything. And I was sure that this is something I want to do. I was not knowing how am I going to do, but there was definitely, I could see that that was my calling actually. And it was probably first year, second year of my medicine. And at that moment, apart from my study hours, I started watching films, one film a day, I was used to watch, like, maybe two films sometime at nights and all. And after watching those films, I was used to study them, finding out the scripts of those films, and like just looking at how the films are written, every aspect of those films, the cinematography, the composing, scene composings, the music and the editing, and how the film is flowing, so everything. And then I started reading resources, I started reading books about cinema. I started digging it out actually. And a lot of online resources, a lot of online platforms helped me to gain the knowledge about cinema, about filmmaking, technical knowledge and theoretical knowledge. So it all began in that way. So I just had, yeah, actually that's how it started. That's how I started getting close to cinema at that moment.
And when you were watching international cinema,
Yeah.
which filmmakers or which cinema, in terms of one would call it independent cinema, or was you were impressed with? Do you want to? Are there any names that come to your mind? And especially that your interest is more in the genre of documentary making. So, would you like to share with us?
Yeah. So, first, I did not watch documentaries. Actually, started from fiction films only, and there were. I can recall the first film that made some impact on me. It was it's a it's a Hollywood film, The Notebook. Okay, so that film was really amazing, and I can remember that year's all the Oscar nominees, whatever films were in Oscar, I started watching those films, and the films were Bradley Cooper's film was there, and also I started watching some films, and after that I started watching some international cinema as well. So if I have to just a long story short, I started liking the work of Christopher Nolan. I watched all the films. I started from Memento, and then I started watching all his films and the style that he used. Obviously he does fiction cinema, but still his films made impact on me. And let me come to, then I started watching a lot of films. And then in Russia, I was in Russia, so how could I miss Andrei Tarkovsky? He's a legendary filmmaker. And
Yes.
and I watched his films, and those films are completely different. I could not even understand those films in like one shot. They were so heavy, but I felt something different about those films. And then I started reading Andrei Tarkovsky's book actually about cinema. Okay, so what I was used to do sometime in lecture, some lectures that were boring to me, I started reading those books actually in lectures as well. I was used to sit backside and reading out those books. So 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 I finished that book, and so I was kind of fascinated with Andrei Tarkovsky. I started digging out about his work and watching his films as well. And so this was all about fiction cinema. So I started watching many films like this, all the directors like Martin Scorsese or Christopher Nolan or everything, whatever is out there in Hollywood, I started watching, because I was watching a film a day. So, but then documentary. So there is this filmmaker, Werner Herzog. He's a legendary filmmaker, and I watched his first documentary. It was and that documentary completely made an impact on me. It into the there was I just forgot the name of the documentary, but it was really amazing actually. And then his next documentary was Into the Abyss. It was about prison system. So he made an impact. And at that time I read an article from Werner Herzog, how he addressed the filmmakers about get like just be independent, just do do not work anywhere in the like, just go there and just do your film if you have something with you, just,
Right.
get some money out there and everything. So all these things. And then in documentaries, Matthew Henman, modern documentary filmmaker, his film
Yes.
inspired me, Carterland. When I watched that film, it was something that I felt a documentary can be interesting like a fiction film, and still it
Yes.
can be a documentary.
Definitely. Yes.
So that's how this, few filmmakers inspired me. Their work inspired me, and I started, you know, learning from all these things. And the
Mhm.
main thing was not just watching the film, but after watching the film, just learning them with with my friends and entertainment, Kostov Manchekar, and he's a cinematographer. So that's how it all started actually.
Brilliant. And this makes me curious that you just said that you used to watch one film a day and also sometimes sit at the back of the class and read, books written, by the famous documentary or filmmakers. So tell us then, medical studies are such a tough, are so tough. How
Yeah.
did you manage to pass your exams then?
Yeah. Actually, I was not used to do that in important subject that matter,
Yeah.
but there were a lot of side subjects, So I
Yes.
could, manage the subjects that were I knew that I can pass them,
Yes.
So so
So
so
it was a balancing act.
balancing act. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's not possible, because I had to study a lot for medicine as well,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so but yeah, I managed it. And I enjoyed reading actually. In those Russian winters, we were used to have lectures early morning at 7 o'clock,
Right,
and
right.
just go there. And few subjects were boring, because they were like some extra subjects that had
Yes,
nothing to do with direct experience of medicine. So
yes.
I was used to just read out, and after the lecture go outside, have coffee, and then come back, and again reading. So it was,
Yeah.
my friends were used to tease me, you have gone insane, I mean, what you doing?
No, that's brilliant that you followed your passion as well, and
And one more thing, even the friends
yes,
were not studying the subject that teacher were teaching. They were playing on their cell phones. Okay, they were playing some other things. So I was just using my time
yes,
actually.
yes, yes. I can recall some times people are there's a famous game, Candy Crush, and it used to drive me crazy seeing people, and I on Facebook when I joined, I remember getting a lot of friends sending Candy Crush, invites, and I was like, what is this? So yeah, I can understand people can get hooked on to games as well. Now, so I really wanted to have you share your journey because it's a very different route in terms of studying for medicine and then also at the same time, developing your creativity and also on a professional level to follow that. So when you finished your medical studies, you went into filmmaking. Am I right?
Yeah, actually, yeah, it was full-time filmmaking when I finished and I
Yes.
got my degree, and after that I moved to India. But it all started, even I started doing professional work from my
Right.
third or fourth year of medicine,
Okay.
where I did my first music video in Russia with collaboration with a music band.
Okay.
And, there was my friend Kostov Manchekar, and me and him founded our indie production, UK Pictures Entertainment. And, so that's how started the journey.
Great. And great. And because the first time I saw the name of your productions, I was like UK, and I said, well, he's greatly inspired by us, by UK. So yeah, great. But then you explained to me what UK stands for. So maybe you can tell the audience as well what UK stands for, UK
Yeah,
Productions.
yeah.
Do share.
UK actually, mostly sometimes people guess it as U means Utpal and K means my surname Kalal, but
Right.
but it's U means Utpal and K means my friend Kostov Manchikar. He's a cinematographer, and as well
Brilliant.
he's a doctor. But right now, even he is following his passion for cinematography. Actually,
That's brilliant. A doctor come filmmaker team. So so if anyone needs a doctor, there are two on set,
yes,
standby.
you got this. I mean,
Let's now talk about how you, of course, the main, the most important thing we want to discuss with you is today your documentary, The 14th February and Beyond. Tell us how you started to think about this idea and develop it. How did you, what were your reasons of investigating this concept and its effect in India, within India, and of course other globally as well?
Yeah. So basically, it started long back when I was in my school, in my childhood, actually. Not the idea about the documentary, but still getting interested in the subject somehow, during the Valentine season. So when
Right.
I was probably in sixth or seventh standard in my school, actually, and I was born and brought up in a very small town, in a village in Rajasthan. So at that moment I got to know about Valentine's Day through newspapers, actually. They
Right.
were used to print shairis. Any guy in the town, if he is having crush for a girl or anything, even if girl is not aware about it or anything, but if you just want to woo a girl and want to express what you feel about it, so you would go to those newspapers and you would give some money, whatever the charges were, and they will print the shairi. Okay, so until then it was fine, but they would print the shairi with the name of the girl. You won't
Right.
find the name of the boy, but you will find the name of the girl, in the shairi. So what would happen next day when the newspaper is out there, in the village? So what my friends in the school and even me, I mean, what we were used to do, just find out whose girl's name in the newspaper, and sometime we got our classmates name in the newspaper, and then
Mm.
boys were used to tease those girls about that, and they were not knowing about it, so they felt very embarrassed about it, the situation,
Yes, of course.
and then it went to next level when boys were used to write bad names in the toilets and with their girls
Mhm.
name. It was just something, something was happening into that particular season where boys were they were getting crazy about this day, and
Right.
just making it all about by hook or crook, just reaching out to girls, even if they have consent about it or not, or they talk to those girls or not, and then few incidents that happen in our village, boys
Mhm.
going out there, at night, writing exterior of girls house wall their names, and I love you and all, and next day girls getting up, and the whole embarrassment,
Mhm.
so all these small incidents that were happening in that moment, I was bothered with that. I was thinking why it's happening. This particular, because we were fine like few years back when I was, I can recall maybe, so sixth, seventh standard. That entire
Mhm.
thing was, and then there was a flavor of romantic Bollywood films as well. So the teenagers and everything,
Yes.
in
Yes.
villages, obviously people are not very educated in villages. They
Mhm.
cannot really comprehensively, understand things. So they will just go crazy about it. So and at that moment it was just experience about village, because I was there. I was not even knowing the environment of city. So
Yes.
after my
Understand.
10th standard and everything, I went to other city, I to study, to prepare for medicine exams and all. So there I saw completely different impact of Valentine's Day. There
Mhm.
the eve teasing and the obviously these things happen around the year, but the point was, when the February approaches, I could see in Kota, it's a medicine. The engineers and the medicine people who ever want to get into entrance exam, they come from all over from India there. So you will find a lot of students, girls and boys out there. Okay, so at
Right.
that moment it became a problem for institutions. So they had to use extra security, because there were
Mhm.
many already incidents were there, reporting around the year. But when the Valentine's Day was there, we saw a lot of incidents, and next day newspaper you will find a lot of news about throwing
Yes.
of acid and everything. So these
Oh
things were
God. Yes.
bothering me,
Yes.
and at that moment I was like, I was not knowing, I was not a filmmaker, I was just a student. So I mean, I was like, I had one question: if this day is about love, then why all these disturbances happening? This was a question in my mind. Okay,
Yes.
and
Yes.
then the stories right there. I went to medicine. And then constantly every year I was used to recall all these things and what was happening around Valentine's Day. So when I was in medicine and I started my filmmaking and I was exposed to documentary, so I just got this idea, I have to investigate Valentine's Day
Yes.
globally, because I was outside India and I
Mhm.
saw different sort of impact, but yet similar. Even in Russia, I could see in our college the environment, the pressure, so stuff like that. So I thought that I'm going to make a documentary when I'm done with my medicine. So the first project I'm going to do would be this documentary, on Valentine's Day. And
Okay.
and for that I started, exploring the documentaries that would inspire me to tell this story.
Right.
So
Right.
there were a lot of documentaries, and one thing I was sure, I wanted to do a big research for this subject, because there has not been any research about this subject, even in
Mhm.
academia, in universities. There's been no book about this, particular the 360 impact of Valentine's Day on society, right? And so I started reading about it. Probably in 2018 February, January, we decided that we are going to do this project. Initially the budget was very low. The budget was just, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, right? In Indian currency it would be like 2 lakh or 3 lakh rupees, because we were not having any producers or financiers for this project. But I
Yes.
started digging out about Valentine's Day, and when research started happening, first I started checking out the news reportings around Valentine's Day in India and globally and everything. So
Mhm.
I would we can talk about it later, how it all happened, but
Yes.
that's how this idea came. That's how
Right.
that's how
Right.
idea of making a documentary came actually.
That's very interesting, and what you have shared in terms of how it was within the village setting on Valentine's Day. Quite scary that the newspapers, the media also was printing the girls' names, and there wasn't any sort of law or sense of responsibility of exposing the girls to possible, eve teasing or harassment. One interesting, I mean, I wanted to ask you it out of just curiosity that although I understand it's a village setting and it was boys who were posting shairi and in the papers on and other, things for the girls on Valentine's Day. Was there any incident of any girls who would be either posting shairi or otherwise giving a card or a flower to the boy, or was it all driven by the boys predominantly?
Yeah, it was I never see girls doing it. I never saw that. It was all driven by boys actually. and
Right,
and that's how it is marketed actually. That's how the day
right,
is marketed. As a
right.
man or as a boy, you should supposed to woo the girl by maybe giving gifting things, or just
Okay.
doing all these things. And at that moment, see, slowly we were becoming a very hardcore capitalistic society. And
Yes,
when the capitalism comes, it's hard to differentiate the black and white. Everything becomes gray there, out there. When this capitalistic the capitalism is out there, just the brands, the companies, they care about the business,
yes,
just taking out any idea, any festival or anything, and they just care about business, right? So with that sort of things, even the newspapers and everything, slowly everything, all brands and all agencies has become, capitalistic, and
yes,
I do not want to criticize the capitalism, but I want to talk about what should be the line, where should we draw the line, so that incident about newspaper, that how that was happening, so it was just they focused on marketing this idea, the goody goody side of this day. You propose the girl and we are writing for you, shairis in the newspaper and stuff like that, but they never cared about repercussion, the ripple effect of this the consequences of this step, and it doubled and doubled and doubled, and there many things were happening. So capitalism was happening, and the whole thing started turning in a completely different altogether.
So it was basically the commercialization, as you have also shown in your documentary, how Valentine's Day, started with Saint Valentine, but then how an entrepreneur in America in the 1800s started the Valentine cards business, and then that took off. So in a way, what we are seeing, and you showed that in your documentary, is the commercialization aspect of Valentine's Day, as with any other festival or day, whether it's Mother's Day, Father's Day. There's a lot of pressure on people in UK or America as well. Of course, Christmas Day. And you've shown that after Christmas Day, Valentine's Day is the one where most merchandise is sold, whether it's cards or other merchandise. So it's become one of those high events or holy days, as you mentioned, which earns big money for businesses. So there is that inherent commercialization and profit aspect to it, which is driving it as well. Coming back to your documentary, you have interviewed various people from whether newspaper editor, authors, and academics, as well as psychiatrists and psychologists. How did you go about, drawing up a list of people that you were going to interview and get their expert opinion?
Okay. So let me just give a little bit of a background when we were talking about the global part, and then I come to this question.
Yeah.
Even, we know that this Valentine's Day, all the commercialization mostly, how it came into the market, it started from, from West and from America, and at that moment, if you will go in the history and if you'll see the articles written in New York Times, there were some articles in New York Times at that moment in 1800 or something like, there were articles that warned about the capitalistic nature of Valentine's Day. They warned that, if we would continue with this sort of things, the love would be, sidebarred, and this would turn into something else. And even in the
Yes.
film, you see in the beginning of a film from a professor's, this professor's book, we quote something that talks about, at that moment's interpretation about Valentine's Day, how it started, and
Mm-hmm.
but always the companies and commercial brands and everything, the way they have shaped it, so people could not see the another side of it, people just saw that, it's just about love, but how they exploited the love, the very feeling of love, and then it turned out in that way, and today in 2020, and this the whole journey of how it started, in the remembrance of Saint Valentine's Day, and then people started celebrating it to denote it for their loved ones, but how the very nature of this particular day turned into something else,
Yes.
and it's
Yes.
not anymore about love, it has become about so many things, so that was the thing. And then your question was, what was the question? Just can you? Uh,
Um, uh, that you have during your research, how did you decide in terms of, or how the experts
yeah,
that you brought
the experts,
um,
right?
to talk
So,
about?
I was actually the research was going in 2-3 parts. We had a team, and that was doing ground research where we were meeting the NGOs, the law enforcement people, the writers, whatever we could go in our capacity, with our
Yes.
limitations, in a way. So we were approaching them, and then there was complete online research was happening. So just getting the facts, all the facts until now, whatever is there, the news things and all that was happening. And at the same time, we are trying to approach people who might have understanding about this subject, because see, the biggest challenge about this subject was, it's not even a subject before you call it a subject.
Yes.
So when we approached in starting time, people were not even getting it, what actually we want to do,
Yeah.
about
Yes.
Valentine's Day, what you want to do. Okay, it's a day people celebrate love and all,
Yes.
so before that as well, we had to form a narrative, like we had to get some clarity in front of us as well, what we are doing, how we are going to approach people,
Yes.
so after that we started, only 1 or 2 people I know personally that are in the film. that too personally with respect, maybe I admired them, their work, and sometimes
Yes,
we talk,
yes.
that way. Otherwise I didn't know anybody that appears in film actually. So I started approaching people on email actually, because I was
Right,
in different city. So I wrote emails to to professors in USA as well. We had planned to go to
right,
USA
right.
and do some so there is a professor Peter Kuznick. He was the in initial 2 3 people that we approached. He's in Washington DC University actually. And when I wrote him the email, he was so excited about it. I mean, he said that at least somebody is doing this sort of
Yes, yes,
documentary, and I would love to be the part of it. But due to some just the visa and the budget things, we could not go to US. And he said that I would be happy to do, if you can come down here and shoot it. Otherwise, he wanted to have that intimacy, the human intimacy, when he's putting himself out. So
yes,
same
yes.
way I approached the many people via email. And I initially I got a lot of people like, okay, not interested, not doing it, or maybe their dates are busy and stuff like that. But finally I started getting these people who thought that this who find it relevant somewhere. They felt like it has to be, it has to come out there, the investigation, the research about Valentine's Day globally and in India. So that's how I approached the Dr. Sudhir Bhave. He's one of the best psychologists of India actually. So
Right.
Sudhir, he's a gold medalist. Okay, so when I talked to him and we had a phone conversation, the video conference and everything. And again, our background was same. I'm a doctor, and we had that
Yes,
again
yes,
that intimacy from same background. So he was ready to share. And when I got to know, okay, he already is having experience about Valentine's Day, because he dealt with the patients, post Valentine trauma. He
yes.
was dealing with those patients and everything. So that's how I went to getting the psychologist which was needed for this film, psychiatrist, and the law enforcement people. So went to the DCP Manjita Vanzara.
Mhm.
She's called as Singham Lady of Gujarat. She's a very being lady. She's just they're out there.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, actually she's just kick ass actually. So
okay, yes,
so we went to her, and I wanted some facts. I had the
yes,
newspaper things, but I wanted to just see out there, in the FIRs written in the police station, if we
yes,
find a pattern, the more cases of eve teasing and all those things. So
yes.
they told us everything. So that's how I approached psychiatrists from financial. I approached Nityanand Mishra. He's a brilliant author, and he's a, so I just wanted to approach anybody I could, who could give me shed some light of this subject, and even
Mm.
enlighten us with their expertise. So
Right.
I wanted to do it from commercial aspect, the psychological, the society, so just cover all the aspect of it, the impact on like teenagers and everything. So we went to many parents and did the back research as well. Not everything that comes in the film, but it helped us to shape what we wanted to do. So that's how the research and approaching these people happened.
Right, that's great. So quite a thorough research and background work was carried out, and I love the title for the lady, the police officer,
Singham lady,
Singham.
Singham lady,
What would you say? Sorry,
Singham lady, because there is a
Singham
Bollywood film,
lady. Yeah.
Ajay Devgan, that's Singham. So
I
people,
know, I know. I watched Singham, so that's
India
why
gave
I
her the name actually,
really
the Singham lady of
like the sort of title. Uh, when one watches the documentary, the interesting thing which comes across, and as one can see from the global aspect that you have shown, whether it's from USA and other countries in Asia, and as well as India, that a lot of the reaction to Valentine's Day in the last 10 years has been molded by the excessive commercialization and maybe at some level the media frenzy about Valentine's Day at the backdrop with the backdrop of the society's attitudes towards women, towards I would say equal rights, and especially with regards to patriarchy in countries like India, in South Asia. And a lot of times, it was mentioned how girls were pressurized. Now, young girls, of course, there is age of consent in India, which is 18. And so even if a girl has consented, it's still considered rape. And the same issues are in UK and USA as well. And young girls might be pressurized by their boyfriends, whether, they can be 14, as young as 13, to have sex. But there is a heightened frenzy around the week of the Valentine's week and then the Valentine's Day. So this is another way of people, pressurizing girls to have sex. And this is again, like I said, against the backdrop, especially to do with India, on patriarchy, where there are a lot of issues with respect for women in terms of the incidence of rape. As you know, there was at one point, Delhi was considered the capital of rape, and then the Nirbhaya case happened. The laws, more stricter laws, have been introduced. So, do you think that the commercialization and the media frenzy around Valentine's Day reflects what is happening in these countries, in these societies already, and exacerbates it to that extent? Like in America, there is a lot of gun crime in terms of school shootings. And then you have shown the one case where the boy who had some learning disabilities as well, but he decides to shoot his ex-girlfriend and sees her with her new boyfriend, and decides to go on a rampage. So that's all. Although there are incidents happening of school shootings, but in this particular incident, it happened because he chose to do it on Valentine's Day. So what are your thoughts about
Okay.
this?
So actually, there are many, if we see how every country has different issues, right? So there are so many things, we can, in India, we are already facing so many issues out there, right? But I would say, if we see it from a very clean slate,
Mm-hmm.
and if we look it from at a global perspective, with all the countries, and how women are treated, because uh, in India it's happening. And recently the big headlines was, the Me Too movement came from USA. How
Yes.
even in, in elite society, in educated society, how women are treated,
Yes.
and
Yes.
they somehow, even I was, looking at many research, where women have to go through sort of work abuse, and
Yes.
anything like that, and same way. So I would say, if we have to address the problem as the problem is, as it is, because it's happening
Mm-hmm.
all around the world. Okay, it's all
Mm-hmm.
around the world. Okay, and then I define Valentine's Day. I am not saying all the problems happening due to Valentine's Day. I'm not
Yes.
saying that.
Yes.
What I am saying, Valentine's Day acts as a catalyst. It
Yes.
fires it, and when we got the research out there, and we could see the pattern. We could see, when the research about suicide, it has not happened in India yet post Valentine's Day. But Diane Bryce, the suicide prevention chief in USA, you know they've said that, the most suicide highest rate of suicide is this February month, the Valentine month, not
Right.
even Christmas, right? So this is the pattern I could see. And then, I had to just corroborate that thing with, in India, the incidents of suicide. So you
Mm-hmm.
just have to find out the newspapers, the local newspapers and everything, and you would see many stories of suicide just
Yes.
post Valentine's Day. So not just one thing, the suicide was there. Okay, the revenge psychology, where you want to take a revenge for unrequited love.
Mm-hmm.
So you choose this month, you choose this particular day, where maybe your love is not returned. And as I
Yes.
told you, the particular the
chemical imbalance that happens, psychologically, when the whole media is bombarding with this kind of thing. You need to have a girlfriend, you need to have somebody. This is the day, and boys are getting that idea. This is the day where I should be losing my virginity, and they are convincing the girls, this is the day where this particular phenomena that is happening, that is disabling people's judgment. Like, what
Yes.
should I do? What should I do? How should I stay? If I'm alone, it's fine. People are just taking it as, if I do not have somebody to date on this particular day, they will start feeling depressed, and the expectation that revolves around this particular day. So I was seeing the pattern actually. So this documentary is not based on single problem, or
Yes.
it is not based on single issue. It consists of many issue, and this particular phenomena of Valentine's Day works as a catalyst to fire up all the existing problems.
Right.
To make it, the society is already in anxiety, right? There are research that say that people hardly sleep at night. They have to take the sleeping pills, right? But particular when this month reaches, it goes to a next level. It is completely a different level. So we researched about all these factors, and then even the gun control, the USA, the gun shoot happened. So in that issue as well, we are not trying to say that it was just Valentine's that made him do that. He had easy access to guns, so obviously he went to the guns. Okay, but still I want to go back little, and the psychology of that kid, where you decide to kill somebody. Yes. Then later on you think that with what weapon you are going to kill, right? Yes. Then maybe then the subject of gun control comes, because they are easily available, right? Okay. So I was thinking, should we include that story in the film? So that story happened in 2018. At that time we were researching, and I kept it in a different folder. Okay, that's happening, and I wanted to address this situation as that revenge psychology, where this people particularly in love, and they did not get the love in return, and how they choose Valentine's Day, or particular that revenge psychology. Okay, so in 2019, when I was editing my film, and at that moment as well, my research was going on. I was just looking at all the data and everything, and then again I saw in USA, again a student chose Valentine's Day. He went to the campus. It was not a big breaking news, because somehow the guards caught the guy, and he could not shoot out. He could not do the shootout in school. But he went there, and it was a teenager, and he went there, and again, he had a note in his pocket, according to media, that, kill the ex-girlfriend, kill the other people, and if you have a last bullet, kill yourself. So I was again, this is India. We see the revenge pattern, and this is USA. Even in that society, we are seeing that revenge pattern. And that revenge pattern comes in many forms, not just the shooting out. In India, the acid attacks, you will see the frequency of acid attacks. BBC reported in 2002, days preceding to Valentine's Day, ear teasing incidents go high. It is rampant, So all these things, the pattern that were happening. So I was just thinking that this is completely another side of this day, where there's completely something has went wrong, that has given birth to this chaos.
Yes.
Where nobody is having any idea, and not the teenagers, but even adults are getting impacted with this particular phenomena. So I saw the patterns actually, and then how teenagers were feeling vulnerable. I got to know from psychologists, and how they particularly feel that pressure. So I would say, I was in the starting, I was thinking that this is the problem in India only, because I started my research from India. But when I looked at global perspective, I saw that the problem was all around, some sort of different form, but it was out there. And that's how this documentary investigates, in many aspects, commercial or teenagers, the society, even the history, how it came and everything, So that's how it is.
Okay. And coming from that, looking at all of these different aspects, then you have also moved in terms of in the documentary, the narrative ways of countering the chaos or the frenzy of 14th of February and the week. And I was going to, all the sort of different days which are designated to, a kiss day and a chocolate day and all that. So it's like a week-long festival in a way. But in terms of how to counter that pressure and how to counter the narrative, you have then moved on in the documentary to show how some organizations have started the parents puja day, and you have then shown that in terms of the different states in India, as well as some footage from America as well, where it's picking up as within the Indian community. I wanted to ask you about that, about the parent puja day. Because originally it has a religious aspect. It comes from the Hindu mythology in terms of Mata Pitar Puja. And how was it started in terms of within India?
Okay, so actually in India, like with Valentine's Day going to the different levels of, it's chaos, so obviously it was right there. People were knowing that, in particular season, the chaos is bringing so many, negative things out there, right? So what happened, there were some groups in India, they started the approach to correct this thing in a very negative manner. There were many groups that were doing on Valentine's Day. They would create their squad and moral policing that happened.
Yes.
Just beating out the couples and just not letting them celebrate out there. So they were not addressing the problem. I felt they were creating a more problem out of it. Because this was not a simple issue of adults celebrating Valentine's Day. You have to bifurcate it. You have to put it in a different kind of angles. When two grown adults who want to celebrate their love and want to go on a date, so who are you to stop them?
Yes.
Right? But at the same time, you see that there is some negative things are happening. So you have to address those negative part. You cannot go and just bash out everything you see out there, right? So the violence was happening and all, but what news media did, news media started picking out only this story. So when you will talk about India, Valentine's Day in India, so you will find that, in India, moral policing is happening. The people don't want, people are against love. There are some believers of against of love and all that thing. Okay. So I felt again, okay, media is showing that part. Okay, moral policing is happening and should not happen. I'm in agreement with that. Okay, but why they are not talking about the negative aspect of it? Why there is no talk about the psychological aspect of it? Why there is no debate about it? In media, they completely ignored that sidebar. Completely. So then later on, some organizations came as an idea of initial. The idea was particularly for teenagers, the school children. In schools, because there were many incidents where these things were happening and the schools were not able to handle the situation, because if you say the children that you do not bring the love letters in school in particular season and all that, so there was a teacher who got a love letter later on that particular teenager in guilt went home and he committed suicide. This sort of things were happening. And then in news media, where there was many news about the suicides, the acid attack, couples committing suicide on this day, or all these things happen. But in particular the school aspect, I saw that there were many things that schools were not able to handle it. So some organizations came the idea, the Yog Vedanta Seva Samiti, they call themselves. They got this idea about the Parents Worship Day. So this stands for they are not just they don't just want to focus about the word worship. When I spoke with them, they want to say that a day to honor your parents, to show your love to parents. Okay, so their style was to do it in their cultural way, worshipping the doing the aarti with the thalis, and bringing the parents in the school, and
Yes.
having a discussion in the having a little parent student meeting, where not the you do not talk about the curriculum or your numbers, but you just talk about how the children is doing and everything, and then having a little bit of this sort of event in school. Okay, and then it was their idea, but then it started picking up, and it was not just there, but many state governments started picking this idea, and then many schools like this idea. And it was not just schools from Hindu religion schools, or I would say government school, or schools, government school. I would say that when there are different governments, the school run in a different way, with ideology of governments. But I would say that collectively, every school, even the schools that run by churches and everything, they liked this idea, because they felt that this is the thing, this is the celebration, or this is an event that would channelize the particular student's energy in a different way. They would have something else to do on this day, not just planning out all these things. And the big problem was, the commercial companies extended this day in India in a gift giving weeks, like 7 days. There are Rose Day, the Teddy Day, and God knows, the kiss day, the hug day, the propose day. So
That's the Valentine's, no? That's the
yeah,
Valentine. Yeah.
yeah, that's Valentine week. It starts from 7th of February, and it goes to 14th of February.
Yes.
And at that moment, it was hard for schools to handle this situation. So they felt that this is a pretty good idea of honoring your parents and everything. And then slowly it changed into a different form from its original, where you just worship. It changed into, some schools are doing just bringing their parents and children and giving roses to their parents, just honoring your parents. So that's how this idea started. And then again, we wanted to be very objective and subjective about this idea as well. Okay, so in the film, what we try to say, it doesn't matter what anybody tries to tell you what to do. It's always going to about what is how you are exposed to that thing, what is your education to it, and how you can see with unfiltered eyes.
Yes.
Unfiltered things. So what is good for you, what is best for you, that would be much better, rather than you being manipulated by anything or anybody.
Yes.
What you want to do. And that would, I felt somewhere, this would at least start a change, where you are conscious about what you can do in this particular month, or you are conscious that it's okay not to have someone, not to have a girlfriend, and it is still okay to be single in this week, and not getting into anxiety or drifting into all this negative thoughts. So that's how even the Parents Worship Day started. And I felt somewhere, what I liked about it, at least this was an answer to the organizations or some people who were doing violence on Valentine's Day. There can be a secular or democratic way. If there is a problem, you can go there and address it, and and bring it something else if you find something something is happening. And then we saw that even in USA, Indian community started doing it, and in India nowadays, even this celebration is happening in all sort of school. The Muslims are celebrating, the Christians are doing it, everybody's doing. And one thing that I liked about it, it does not have a particular imposing, that's what you should be doing. So even that part, I mean, we're doing a documentary on Valentine's Day, and this sort of big thing is happening in India or globally. How cannot we miss? So we try to put that part as well, to
Okay.
let the people know, like in terms of what is happening. But
Yes.
again, in the film, with our experts, and what our experts have to say, and as a filmmaker I have to say, the voice is right there. What we want to say is, be conscious, be awake, and there is a line in the film, in the ending, the biggest power of a young person is not to be driven or not to be manipulated, not go berserk if somebody else is controlling your mind. If you can do that, that's the consciousness, right? That's what we do in meditation as well, right? Just
Yes.
in control of yourself. And if we are in control of in ourselves, I would say it doesn't matter. It's not just Valentine's Day. anything in society, you would have your perspective, and I'm sure this would, this would bring some change in your life as well and in the society.
That's brilliant. And like you said, at the end of the your documentary, the software engineer Nanita Singh also says that, and I would quote it because I thought that was very significant in context of any campaign, whether it's Mata Pita Puja, Ammi Abba Puja, or Father Mother Puja, or Valentine's Day celebration, that using your conscious and strong sense of judgment before blindly, that's the key thing, before blindly following all these commercialized campaigns, because at some level all these campaigns are commercialized. Because what you do today shapes the quality of your life and of the coming future generations, and it becomes a culture for them. So I think that's what you were trying to convey as well, which was a great effort. I would want to also mention, of course, that your documentary has been shown at the Jaipur Literature Festival, and it won the Best Documentary Award.
Jaipur International Film Festival.
Yes, Jaipur International Film Festival, and it won the Best Documentary Award. And also in America, in one of the festivals in California, Riverside International Film Festival, it has also been given the Best Documentary Award.
Yeah, audience choice.
It has received nominations and has been selected for other festivals. It was selected for, of course, UKAFF, UK Asian Film Festival as well, to be screened in 2020 this year. And that must have, given you more confidence to, work on future projects as well. So congratulations for the awards. I wanted to ask and play a bit of devil's advocate here about the context. The context, and in terms of the documentary, you have given the history of Valentine's Day and its context as well, in a global context and current climate. The context of one of the things which, did you receive any criticism or any people challenging the use of how the Mata Pita Day was depicted within the documentary? Because given the history that it was something which was started by one of the sort of religious and I would use the word controversial figures of India, Asaram Bapu. And he started the Mata Pita Puja Day movement. But him being a controversial figure in terms of already, he is convicted. I mean, there are people have different opinions, and his followers have other views. However, he is convicted and of child rape and is in jail, serving a life imprisonment. And also, he was very controversial in his comments about the gang rape in Delhi in 2012, the Nirbhaya case. And if I quote his comments, which were quoted in media, I mean, they are not my quotation, they were quoted in the media as him saying that with regards to the rape, it was the victim's fault as well, not just the men who raped her. That if she had, kneeled down and had begged them and said to them that they were her brother and therefore they should not rape her, and asked them like that, then they would have spared her. And there was a huge controversy, outcry by not just women's rights activists, but also across, the cross-party political party spectrum about his insensitivity or choice of bad words in how he viewed the situation. And he also was outspoken in not liking the sentence which was given, because he felt it would be more maybe anti-men. And in future cases. So given the context of how this movement was started, again, what we see in context of India, it seems it's the choice for the Indian public whether in terms of a Valentine, a commercialized, event, and then this Mata Pita Puja, which again puts parents on a pedestal, where and maybe one might think parents shouldn't be put on a pedestal, because they should be considered as human beings and as having flaws and weaknesses, and and also the context of it, in terms of the person who started and whose views are in a way quite outrageous with regards to considering a woman's rape. So that choice for people in India is really not an ideal choice to choose one between the other. And have you received any criticism or challenges about that aspect of the content of the documentary? I wanted to ask you about that as well.
Yeah, okay. So actually, there is organization Yog Vedanta Seva Samiti, and Asharam Bapu he is the head of the organization. But what we did the screening, you actually asking the criticism, that if we have received. So when we did the screening in Jaipur and Mumbai International Film Festival by Government of India, and we had a very theater full of people from different walks of life actually.
Yeah.
So what is happening here? What I want to say is the film doesn't really glorify anybody. The film is completely happening on a different context, and what happened in his personal life, that's a completely different thing. And then a bad idea, if whatever is happening today, the case is happening still in the court, and right now in the lower court the case is, and still these people, there are different opinions, as you said. There are people that believe that he became a part of a conspiracy, and then some people believe in a different way, right? So the case is still right there in the court, and they are fighting it out, right? So I don't want to comment about the legal aspect of whatever is happening right there, but the film is about the idea that and I say that the films even I would say that 5 to 6% of the film where we show the part of parents honoring or parents worship day, and in that aspect I would say that it's the idea. It's not about when the parents worship day is happening, people are not worshiping whoever started, people are not glorifying the person, it's just that simply plainly the idea, and the idea can come from anybody, right? So what I want to say, that what is happening on the legal aspects or everything out there, that I would leave upon the courts, the higher courts, to decide what is going to happen in future, and maybe he is proven not guilty, or maybe he'll be proven guilty. In the lower courts he's proven guilty, but people believe that in Supreme Court the situation will be different. Okay, that's a different part of it. And about the Nirbhaya case, even we heard it from media, right? So I'm nobody to say if he has said it in that way. I would say that people should be more conscious about what they are going to say when they are a public figure. It's going to have its own impact. But nowadays, even I would say that media is a devil that is playing everything. They can change everything. They can change the narrative out there. So with all due respect to what you have said, and I haven't received any criticism as such, because we had a screening. People were more like, they were more like knowing about the idea rather than, who started or who is doing. Because I would say even the state governments are, officially, celebrating this day. So, and this day is changing its weight of celebration. It's not just about it. I would say that, it has now nothing to do with just one religion ideology. It's about you just having your parents and honoring and celebrating them. So in the film, I would say that it's fair to say that we just bring what is happening around Parents Worship Day, and what is the impact of Parents Worship Day on people, and the person who has started what is and when he started, he was clean, right? He didn't have as such the cases of all these things, and and after that all these things happened, and they believe it's a conspiracy, and another side believes whatever he has done. So that's a completely different aspect, but rather I would like to stick upon the film. The reason we have made this film, the reason was not the parents worship day. The reason is Valentine's Day and negative side of it. And openly in the film we say that it's not about just parents worship day or Valentine's Day, or for that matter any other day. It's about the negative. So I don't want to I haven't received any criticism, but it won't be fair to the narrative of this film to trivialize it into wrap it into just parents worship day or who started the day. I'm open to tell you like that's how it happened and that this is the scenario, but at the same time I don't want to distract myself or audience with who started or what is happening. I just want to see what actually is happening. Nowadays schools are taking it openly, and it's not that people, there is only parents worship day is the only way to encounter Valentine's Day's negativity. And even in film we say that it's okay to celebrate love, it's okay to celebrate Valentine's Day. I mean, who don't want to celebrate love? But it has to be about love, it should not become something else actually. So that would
It
be
should
my
not be harassment. Yes. Thank you for speaking so eloquently about it. And one of the other messages I remember you had mentioned in terms of what's the way forward, and you had mentioned education and removing of ignorance in people's and school and children's minds about the Valentine's Day, and also about respect for boys respecting girls and girls respecting boys, especially to do around the Valentine's time in terms of eve teasing and harassment, but also generally in terms of society as a whole. So did you want to that's what I was going to ask you about in terms of the role of education and the way forward.
Yes, there is a term that comes in the film by Dr. Sudhir Bhave, psychologist, biopsychosocial phenomena.
Yes.
That covers all the angle, biological, social, and psychological angle of a child. So in the film, that's what we are trying to say. The ignorance. If a person is enlightened about the problem and enlightened about the situation, and we start teaching people or we start inspiring people and even ourselves, like once we start seeing humans as a human, and we can, and if we start having that kindness, compassion, and at least a way to think, even in school, if there is your fellow female friend is there, if you have a respect for her, and if you start respecting girls actually, that usually doesn't happen, and you should not be just, it should not be just one way. Even it can be like, and we should break the ice. It's not always boys that have to do, it maybe sometimes girls can do. So I would say that the film concludes that being enlightened, be conscious about it, and treat when we see humans as a human. And mostly the problem happens because nowadays I won't say it's some sort of a conspiracy driven from a one point, but I would say it's more like ignorance. What we love nowadays, we love fast food. We are a fast food Coca-Cola human beings, where we know it's wrong for our health, but still we want to have it. So what, something has happened there, right? Somebody has tempered, right? Even it is not a conspiracy. So same way psychologically it is happening. So social sanity, when I say the social sanity word, so psychologically we are tempered, and we are believed that this is not this, that's how you should be doing, and that's where the problem comes. And if we are psychologically aware about it, and the film talks about the mental health of society, if I put it in a simple word, and the mental health is very important nowadays for everything, for encountering everything, whether somebody, if it is a patriarchal society, even if you are mentally awakened about in terms of, enlightened, and you know what is right, what are your rights and everything, then you can conquer what comes your way, even if you are a female, and even if you are a
Yes.
man. So I would say that education, that would be a step first. I won't say that this would bring all the solution, but this would be a first step. And as a documentary filmmaker, with whatever learning I have, and until now whatever experience I got with this film, we make 1 hour film, 1 hour 60 minutes film. There are a lot
Yes.
of things that go into back context or side context. There are a lot of things we wanted to cover. Still,
Mhm.
there are a lot of things we could not. End of the day, you are telling a story. You are
Yes.
not doing a journalism, right? You are not just putting out facts there. It's a marriage between facts and faith. So as a
Okay.
documentary
Yes.
filmmaker, you are just trying to touch the human side as well. You are not just talking simply facts. so
Yes.
so so that was even a reason, bringing out, even if there is a such celebration as Parents Worship Day and everything. So we wanted to see the human side of something, where people want to find a way out. So if we can be little lenient around it, and we can be little easy around our people, our society, and in terms of, we should not see it as in terms of barriers, as
Mhm.
borders.
Yes.
In America that's happening, or in India that's happening. Everywhere students are facing their challenges. They are just, they change their, shape, but still the challenges are out there. And if we
Totally.
globally take the approach,
Mhm.
depending on particular situations, how we can repair what is wrong, then it would be really good, rather than, trivializing, or dividing the problem in terms of anything, where we lose the focus from a real thing. So that's what happening, because nowadays, with everything, I would say, with everything, even as a consumer of internet, the whole social media life, where we have shifted our human things to the social media and everything. So
Mhm.
again, the film, and I wanted this film, through the Valentine's Day, I wanted to touch that part where simply we are not conscious enough. Simply, we are not being the in charge of our things, and that's where things go wrong. So I wanted to address that part as well. So I hope, always you can't really speak about film, rather, film should speak to people. So I still feel that, as a filmmaker, I made a film, and and there are, things in the terms of metaphor, or maybe in terms of narrative, where things actually, we gather together or piece out together, and it becomes a
Yes.
living being, film as a living being. How a film can interact, I would say that still, I would encourage people, even whoever will be watching this interview, watch the film, and create their own understanding by it, and that would be really nice, actually.
Great. There's just one more
Yeah.
question I wanted to ask. Although we could round it up just now, but because you have talked about the role of education and in terms of society as a whole, what would you envisage media's role in sort of, I
Yes.
wouldn't say countering, but in terms of looking at identifying that what role media can play in sort of not driving this frenzy, or at times criminal behaviors that happen. What would you say that media's role can be to support,
Yes, the way, as a society, as a people, we are responsible for it. Same way, the media has a huge responsibility. They are stakeholders of society, right? So I would say media has a very important role, because people,
Mhm.
even the documentary films are part of media, right? This
Yes.
is media. How a media, how these people, the people who matter, the media, how they can influence. It's actually how a film can influence. So biggest example of it, you call it negative or positive, how Bollywood has influenced India.
Yes.
Everything what you do from morning to evening, you will see the glimpse of Bollywood, and even the news media and everything. I would say that media should play an important role. You know, the people who are responsible for it, they have to become more human and see the problem out there. It's right there, and you have to address it. And if people start doing debates about it, in a school, people start having discussion about it. And
Yes.
and even the parents worship day organizers, when I met them, I told them, please do not keep it limited to just having an event of just this sort of event. Make it a conversation, bring people together, start talking
Yes.
to children. Do not let this limited to just having a giving roses, or again, otherwise it would end up in just another celebration.
Yes.
If you
Yes.
really want to bring a change, this was my actually advice to these people: bring something into it. Start talking, start having conversation about it. Or same way, it goes for media, the schools, the adults actually. And and I would say that even the teenagers nowadays, teenagers are becoming very fast forward. They have everything out there, so even they should start taking their life in their hands. They should not be influenced or manipulated by anything that comes their way. So if we start one step at a time, and as a society collectively, all the stakeholders, if we start being responsible as a filmmaker, if we start being responsible, we have to be sure about even the fiction films, how we show the character of women, how we show them, how we are predicting that part in Bollywood or Hollywood. So it depends on every human being. The change
Yes.
depends on every one of us. It starts from me. So if I start being responsible about my behavior, I would say that that would do a lot.
Thank you. Utpal, it's been a delight talking to you and listening to you about your experiences and in your journey of making this documentary. This is your first feature-length documentary, and I recommend that people definitely watch it. There's a lot to take in. And like
Yeah.
you said, it has, message in terms of how society can play a role and redefining a day which has become associated with negative behavior. I wouldn't say negativity. Even a day which is associated with love for, it could be broadened to, like you're saying, love for parents, love for humanity, and
Yeah.
in a way for people in India and as well as globally, to take back that ownership which has been in a way usurped by commercialism and commercialization of it. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for making this documentary. It's been great to watch it. And again, thank you for taking part in this interview. And we wish you all the success with your future endeavors, and look forward to more documentaries or feature films as well from you. Thank you so much.
So while we are wrapping it up, I would just like to add a few things. First is still again, the part where as a society, we can be responsible for what is happening there. And about Valentine's Day, whatever we do on this day, the word love is a very beautiful word,
Mm.
and it cannot be explained. The word, again, it's a very subjective thing, love, but suddenly we know this word is very pious, right? So even if you love someone, or there is a line in the film: if you love someone, you cannot harm them,
Yes, yes.
right? So in society, if we have love, and if we want to celebrate even Valentine's Day, that denotes love, then I would say that there is a need to change the behavior that would completely have impact on the negative behavior that you
Yes.
just mentioned, and it would bring a lot of change. So definitely it is my first film, and I would need a lot of blessing from all the audience, so I can keep up with what I want to do. Currently, I'm working on a script that is a fiction short film. It's based on real event. It's based on male child sex abuse. It's
Okay.
inspired by real event. So currently, I'm working on that, and we'll be having more details on our platforms. And it's been really a pleasure. And to the audience, I want to say about Alina ma'am. Even she has a background from a medicine. She's a doctor actually, and and it was really nice, to talking to a senior doctor. And I'm sure that in future we will be having such Q&A for sure for even our another projects. And it was really nice to talk to you. And on the other side, I want to thank UK Asian Film Festival. This year it was maybe their 22nd or 21st edition is happening, and we are so honored that film got into UK Asian Film Festival. And Aman, she is managing everything, from the day the film got into the festival. She's a really amazing, she has been really amazing. She's a good human being. And I really hope that UK Asian Film Festival brings such film and start conversation, because conversation is a key to break the ice. So I'm sure it's been pleasure. It was really amazing, and thank you for doing this interview. And I'm sure people would love to watch the film, and whoever watched the film, I would love to hear from them, whatever it is, whether it's if they have a critique or anything, and while we wrap up, I want to thank the entire team of the 14th February and beyond. Everyone who was involved into this project. Shilpa Agrawal, Kaustubh Manchekar, and my team. Anup Rupanwar, or Sumant Shetty, the music director, and Nityanand Mishra, the scholar, the Dr. Sudhir Bhave, Namita Singh, and the Singham lady, of course, Manjita Vanzara, the
Yes.
lawyer from High Court Gujarat, Yashma Mathur. So I want to thank everyone who is involved in this project, because it's an independent film and it takes a lot, what we see in the film, but in background, there are a lot of things that we have to still struggle to, bring out there. And still today, we are, trying to, reach as much as people we can reach with this film. So I'm sure, and I hope that this conversation about society and how we can bring the change, it should not end with the film, but I feel that it should carry out even if we have watched the film, and even as a filmmaker, if we have made the film, even after that, we should be carrying in what we believe in or what we have shown.
Thank you. Thank you for the message. And with this, we would conclude the interview. I would just like to mention you had thanked Aman as well. And just for the audience, Aman Dhillon is our festival coordinator and leads on the main lead on the film festival based in London. And so thank you to Aman, who has coordinated also our interview as well. With this, I would like to thank the audience for watching the interview series that we are doing with the directors whose films were selected for the 2020 UK Asian Film Festival. We have more interviews lined up for you, so keep checking our Facebook updates and Instagram updates, and we'll bring you more interesting and sometimes challenging interviews. Thank you, Utpal, so much, and thank you, audience. Bye.
So thank you, everybody. Be safe, and be at home, and take care of yourself in this pandemic. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.